I'm going to retire from boxing before I let boxing retire me.
That I'm not comfortable with. You know, I had a great career. You know, I've done some tremendous things in the sport of boxing. I made a lot of history. You know, what can I not be proud of if I walked away from the sport right now? You know, I don't have no regrets because everything that I did it my way. So if I was to walk away from the sport right now.
Terence "Bud" Crawford has officially stepped away from boxing after months of tension, legal disputes, and public disagreements with the WBC. The undefeated and undisputed pound-for-pound champion has decided to leave the sport that made him a legend.
Retire, Bud. Retire, Bud. It's over. You ain't got nothing else to prove. Let's go fishing, Bud. Let's go fishing, Bud. Retire. Yeah. It's over with.
I won. The same fighter who ruled 3 weight divisions, unified titles, and carried himself with quiet confidence is now done with boxing. Terence Crawford says the sport he gave everything to, the sport he bled for, has finally broken him, stripped of his title, accused of breaking contracts, and publicly criticized by legends. Crawford chose to walk away not in defeat, but in defiance. What really happened behind the scenes, and what pushed one of the greatest fighters of this generation to leave the ring. This is the real story behind Terence Crawford's shocking exit. A story of betrayal, power, and principle that has shaken the boxing world.
I always said that I'm going to retire on my own terms, and I'm going to feel good because everything that I did it my way.
It all started with a shocking announcement. On December 3, 2025, the WBC officially stripped Terence "Bud" Crawford of his super middleweight world title. The decision sent shockwaves through the boxing world. According to the WBC, Crawford refused to pay sanctioning fees for his last 2 fights, including his massive $50 million bout against Canelo Alvarez.
He never paid the sanction fees for that fight. His next fight was Canelo Alvarez. He fought for the WBC title as well as the other 3 organizations, and he won the WBC title and the undisputed. He became undisputed, and he did not pay the sanction fees for the fight.
Just like that, the man who once ruled the sport lost his crown. His undisputed status was gone, his title revoked, and his relationship with the WBC broken beyond repair. But as dramatic as it seemed, insiders say this fallout was building for a long time.
He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000.
Behind the headlines, Crawford's frustration had been building for years. Broken promises, behind-the-scenes politics, and a sport that often punishes its biggest stars pushed him to the edge. Crawford wasn't just fighting opponents in the ring anymore, he was fighting the system itself. Even before the WBC controversy exploded, he was already locked in another battle, this time in the courtroom. A lawsuit against powerful promoter Bob Arum and his company, Top Rank, in which Crawford accused Arum of breach of contract, fraud, and racial bias.
I wanted to give a real quick snippet of what I just found out. So Terence "Bud" Crawford just filed a lawsuit against Top Rank and Bob Arum, claiming racism and bias against black fighters.
According to Crawford, Top Rank promised to make a unification fight with Errol Spence Jr., a bout fans had long demanded, but failed to deliver. He claimed that in 2019, there was an agreement stating that if Bob Arum did not make a good faith offer to Spence by the end of 2020, Crawford would be paid $900,000. That payment, Crawford says, never came. Instead, he was left sidelined while Arum focused on other fighters. Crawford also made a serious accusation, claiming Arum made racist and bigoted remarks that harmed the reputations of black boxers, including his own.
Terence Crawford is actually asking for $10 million in damages. He's basically stating that none of the fighters want to speak up. They don't want to say anything.
Fired back strongly, calling the lawsuit reckless and baseless. He said Crawford's claims were vile and insisted he had spent his career promoting fighters of color, accusing Crawford of trying to extort money. That legal fight marked a turning point, drawing a clear line between fighter and promoter. Soon after, Crawford left Top Rank, determined to go independent and build his legacy on his own terms. But instead of freedom, he walked into another storm when the WBC stripped him of his title. This time, Crawford didn't stay quiet, he went all in.
For sanction fees, right? They ain't gonna tell me I ain't even apologize. Like, who the fuck you think I am? Boy, you better slap your fucking self. I ain't paying your ass shit.
In an 8-minute viral video that set social media ablaze, Crawford unleashed a scathing attack on the WBC, calling their belts meaningless trophies and accusing the organization of greed. His words were raw, emotional, and filled with years of pent-up frustration. He declared that the real achievement is earned in the ring, not with a paper belt, dismissing their title as just a trophy. That single statement sent shockwaves through the boxing world.
You, the WBC, and you got the fucking green belt, which don't mean fucking shit. Fucking real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. What are you talking about? You want me to pay you more than the other sanction bodies because you feel like you better than them. How in the world all the sanction bodies agreed to the same amount, but you sit your motherfucking ass up there and say that I need to apologize to you?
Some fans praised Crawford as a hero, finally calling out the hypocrisy of boxing's governing bodies. Others saw it as a meltdown, a legend tarnishing his own legacy. Even Errol Spence Jr., Crawford's longtime rival, joined the conversation. 10 clip makes sense, Spence said, but now he's speaking out when he doesn't need the WBC anymore. He should have said this when it actually mattered. To some, Crawford sounded bitter. To others, he sounded liberated. One thing was clear, he was no longer playing by boxing's rules. Then came the next generation. Rising star Keishan Davis stepped up, defending Crawford without holding back.
I mean, it makes sense, but I mean, I think he should have talked about it, before, because now he's talking about it when he don't need the WBC anymore. And he should have talked about it, way back when. When I said something, he should have spoke up and said something about it too. So I don't know, man. It is what it is.
Echoing what many fighters have long whispered, Davis said, "I never understood why we become champions and have to pay for a belt. Keep that. When I went to the Olympics, did I pay for that medal? No. So keep the belt." I agree with Terence. His words struck a chord across the sport, calling out the hypocrisy of a system that makes fighters work for years to reach the top, only to be told they owe money for what they've earned. 12 clip he voiced what so many others were too afraid to say. If I walk into this arena without this belt, people are still going to show up, so why the hell should I pay for it? For younger fighters, Crawford wasn't walking away, he was standing out. He was doing what no one else dared, challenging boxing's sacred institutions head-on. But the establishment wasn't going to let that slide. WBC President Mauricio Solian took a diplomatic tone, though the tension was palpable.
Always said I never understand why we become champion have to pay for a belt. Keep that shit.
Yeah.
Keep it. I'm not gonna work 14, 15 years for me to pay for something I worked for. When I went to the Olympics, did I pay for that damn medal? No.
I'm not going to entertain or get into a pissing contest with Terence Crawford. WBC President Mauricio Solian told reporters, "We care about the boxers. We wish him success in and out of the ring." He explained that sanctioning fees weren't about greed, but were intended to fund the Jose Solian Boxers Fund, which supports retired and struggling fighters. Many fans, however, weren't convinced. Meanwhile, veteran ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr. called the feud ugly and unfortunate.
If I walk into this arena without this belt, is these people still gonna show up? Yes. So keep the belt. You're not gonna take my money. With all due respect, you know what I'm saying? I just feel like, so I agree with Terence, you know what I'm saying? But I just don't agree with paying for belts. That's why, for all the sanctioning bodies, you know what I'm saying? And I told this to the one that I was under, the WBO. I told him to. I said, I don't really believe in that. And he explained why. And I was like, okay, but I still don't agree with it. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm always going to be, like, for not paying for belts. Because what the fuck are we paying it for?
Talking about money too much isn't the high road, Lennon said, noting that this kind of ugliness has always existed behind the scenes. It's sad to see it play out in public. Behind the polished statements and polite interviews, there was real fear that Crawford's rebellion might inspire others to follow. Then came the wild card. Rapper Cameron, whose take went viral across sports media,
with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route. No response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, it's great, it's about greatness, and I'm relieved, to tell you the truth.
Cameron didn't hold back. He shed light on what many didn't even realize, saying, these sanctioning fees are one big extortion game. He referenced Floyd Mayweather, noting, belts collect dust, the money is what really matters. To Cameron, Crawford wasn't crazy, he was courageous. He reminded fans that Crawford is 40-2-0, one of the greatest fighters ever, and no sanctioning body could take that away. Crawford was still the pound-for-pound king. He had just exposed the system. Cameron's comments went viral, spreading across social media, talk shows, and boxing podcasts. For the first time in decades, fans weren't just questioning fighters, they were questioning the institutions themselves. Amid all the no's, UFC President Dana White stepped in with a reality check from outside the boxing world.
I think, like Mauricio, I'm going to take a high road, but I will say it's unfortunate for the sport of boxing. I think talking about money too much and it is not the high road. And so we've seen some kind of ugly and not so pretty things, exchanges happen here. And so it's unfortunate, but it is a reality. I think there's some things behind the scenes that I have heard about that aren't necessarily public yet.
Dana White didn't stay silent. He weighed in with brutal honesty, saying, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to see what's going on. The guys crying the loudest are the problem. Crawford's his own man, doing his own thing. We'll see how it plays out.
Listen, to be honest with you, he brought a lot of light that I didn't know about when it came to the sanctioning fees. And it seems like one big extortion game. I've seen Floyd say it before, belts collect dust, the money is what really matters. So as long as he gets his money and everything else, I think we already know he's a perennial world champion, probably the pound-for-pound champion right now.
White's comments struck a chord not because they were controversial, but because they were true. He warned that boxing's obsession with politics, sanctioning fees, and power struggles would drive away its biggest stars. Now that warning had come to life, after decades of dominance, Crawford was done fighting the system. He wasn't defeated, he was fed up. The lawsuits, the greed, the endless politics, it was too much. The man who once carried boxing on his back was now walking away from it. Yet the world still wondered, is this goodbye for good, or just a pause before one final fight?
If you look at how this thing's playing out, first of all, let me say this. I love that all these boxing guys love the Ali Act the way it is now. I want to see how many of them actually stay there and do that version of the Ali Act instead of the add-on that we're going to do.
Terence Crawford's decision to walk away marks the end of one of the most remarkable careers in modern boxing. A 3-division world champion, undisputed at welterweight, undefeated in 40 to professional fights, a masterful technician and silent killer in the ring. His dominance was matched only by his discipline. Now, he's stepping away on his own terms, not because he lost, not because he's past his prime, but because he's had enough. To his fans, it's heartbreak, the farewell no one wanted. To Crawford, it's liberation, freedom from a system that no longer deserves him. As one insider put it, they can take the belt, they can take the license, but they'll never take what he built.
You know what I mean? You don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to see what's going on with all these guys. They're all these guys that are crying the loudest are the fucking problems. They're the problem, every one of these guys.
Whether this retirement is permanent or not, one thing is clear. Terence Crawford has forced boxing to confront a truth it has long ignored. The fighters are the soul of the sport, and when they start walking away, the empire begins to crumble. So, what do you think? Did Crawford really quit for good, or is this his way of reclaiming power from the establishment that tried to control him? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe. If this truly is the end of Terence "Bud" Crawford's career, it's a chapter the boxing world will never forget. Until next time.
Whether it took me however many years to get to the point where I'm at, I did it my way. You know, a lot of people can't say that. A lot of people can criticize me and say, oh.
Terence Crawford's right. And it's rich as from the WBC, because if they upheld all their rules in their little manifesto, if they upheld them all the time, on time, then do you know something? They might get a bit of sympathy from you. When you have guys holding #1 positions in weight divisions,